Guys, so I wanted to do a video today about something that came up, and there's a little bit of an embarrassing story time in here as well that got me into this thinking about this today. So I was at Richmond Park today. I was taking some footage for my travel vlog where I wanted to capture Richmond Park now the rhododendrons had come out. And I was walking along this path, and it will make sense in a bit, this story. And it was just this muddy path. It was just pure mud. And either side of it was bluebells, which, to be fair, some of them had been trampled down by people. But I was on a muddy, just pure mud. Not only was there no bluebells, there was no leaves. It was just mud. And there was bluebells to the side, some of which had been trampled. And I could hear this woman in front of me telling people in front of me off for walking on this path. And I think what it was that there obviously had been bluebells on it, and people over time had formed a path, and it was now a completely muddy path with no bluebells on it at all. And this woman was, questioning and telling people off in front of me for walking down this path and just being a real busybody. Those people that are just a real Karen. And, I get it. I'm like a nature lover. The last thing I would want to do is walk over plants, and flowers. I mean, you can't kind of help it when you're in a park because there are set paths, but there's people walking everywhere. So people are walking over the grass and, of course you can't really help walking over grass and some plants. That's just part of living. If they're endangered, they tend to be cornered off with a sign. But obviously, people, I wouldn't trample all over bluebells that are looking beautiful because it ruins them for other people. They don't get to see them. And it's just, something that I wouldn't do. But am I going to walk along an already made path that is just pure mud? Yes. So obviously I'm already getting triggered about this already. And she was just literally telling everybody off and being a complete and utter Karen. I hate that word, but it really applies. And I decided to confront her when she said it to me. And part of me knew, because I heard it going on in front of me, and I thought, do you know what? You could just back up and come back out the way you've come in. But no, I had to go in and I had to sort of, stand up for myself on it. And, I got into the old ranty debate, the very British argument where it wasn't offensive. It was just all about this path and the bluebells, the invisible bluebells. And she kept saying, I'm a biologist. And I said, well, if you're a biologist, then you will know that, it's the end of bluebell season now. So the ones that are already completely disappeared and sadly trampled into the ground so much that they've become soil don't have any hope this year of coming back. That's it for them. And they're going to have to wait dormant in the ground until next year. At which case she obviously realised I did understand a little bit about plants and was like, oh, well, you should be setting an example for all these invisible people around me that didn't even see me on that path. And that apparently I should be saying it in my video. So here you go, I'm saying it in my video. Don't walk on don't walk on muddy paths where there used to be bluebells. But anyway, as you can see, it got me quite annoyed because I don't like being told what to do. And obviously what triggered her was, I think, because she kept going on about Instagram and influencers. And I think what triggered her is that I just took the rap in her mind, for all the influencers that had trampled the bluebells and created a new path. And to be fair, when I looked around, there were trampled bluebells around. It is sad and it does ruin it for everybody else. And I do understand that there are those cavalier people out there that just go and don't care at all, and they just sort of like trample nature. But I don't think that's the way to go about it. You're hardly going to convert people by just being a complete Karen with them. If you want people to protect the environment more, there's far better ways to go about it than to just, you're not allowed on this path. Maybe there's better, more productive ways is she could be teaching younger people how to protect the world around us. But it's very much that automatic assumption that everybody is, you know, everybody with a camera phone that's filming is automatically destructive of wildlife, you know. And I feel I do a lot. I'm not perfect, but, you know, I shop at the biodynamic organic farm. I do my best, you know. I put lavender outside so that the bees can come. And, you know, I make as much organic stuff. But anyway, you know, I'm going really off tangent. But she obviously, to her was the embodiment, because I stopped and flipping engaged the situation. I was the embodiment of all those past people that had walked over these bluebells. And even though I wasn't doing any damage whatsoever, because the damage had already been done, I was that person for her that, like, it all just came out on. And, you know, stupidly, I engaged back with her and, you know, went on for way too long. And it wasn't even very aggressive. And then I noticed her son, I think it was her son, filming on his camera. I thought, oh no, he's going to put that on freaking social media. And it's really embarrassing. And I was telling my friend this story afterwards, and I said, oh, you know, it wasn't very spiritual, was it? You know, I definitely got triggered by it, because I don't like that feeling of people telling me what to do, and trying to make out, you know, just lump me in with a load of other people. And she said, oh, I don't like it when people say that, you know, about it not being spiritual, because, you know, people are angry, you know, we're not perfect all the time. And I thought, you know what, she's right. You know, and I think there's this really weird thing that if you say you're spiritual, somebody expects you to be completely love and light, and that all the time you're this floating, radiant being of bliss. Of course, we want to be in those stages, but we're still on earth, you know, we're still living. And I think there's a lot of repression, and you often see it, these people that are all love and light, and, you know, they never ever sort of get angry or have an argument, and then all of a sudden they just have these massive breakdowns. I've seen them on my Facebook as well, where 1 minute they're sort of this massively evolved soul, and then the next minute they're just having an enormous breakdown, and they, you know, they don't think they can go on. And, you know, for me, and I think spirituality is different to all of us, but what is it to me? To me, it's like not being all love and light. It's not saying that you've like gotten anywhere. It's not saying that you're some enlightened master. It's not saying that you never have any problems in life. It's saying that to me, it's about authenticity and being real with oneself. And it's about constant sort of, not analyzing, but constantly kind of like assessing yourself and your behaviors, and, you know, in an attempt to evolve. It's not that we have evolved, we're just analyzing and processing our lives in order to get higher. We're integrating. And that doesn't mean suppressing and repressing and pretending we're these, you know, beings that never feel anger, and we never feel upset, and we never have a shit day. But it's about integrating this stuff and being real and honest. And a lot of these people are not being real, that are all love and light all the time. I think obviously we're aiming to that stage, and you can definitely have really good runs with it. I've had a good 2 weeks where I've been solidly in that kind of like energy. But then, you know, today I was laughing as I was arguing. But, you know, obviously if someone looks at that, they'll be like, oh, that's not very spiritual, is it? But I hate this way that we put onto spirituality, like, oh, the minute you say you're spiritual, you have to be some perfect enlightened soul that never ever has an argument again until the day that you die. It's just not a realistic concept of living. You know, we're here to live, we're here to evolve. But I do think it's about, being authentic, being real, just and being honest with oneself, rather than you know, being in denial. To me, like, denial is the opposite of spirituality, because it's sort of pretending, it's not facing reality, it's not acknowledging your own part in things, it's not looking at yourself. But actually, that's really spirituality to me, is looking at one's own self and not just constantly projecting onto the outer world. So in that situation, it's me being like, oh, definitely was a bit triggered by that. I should have just walked on and carried on, didn't have to engage in some ridiculous argument for 5 minutes, but I did it. And that's just part of life, and we're all going to have these little arguments, and we can learn from them and we can grow from them, and we can maybe not do it next time, or maybe we will, but we can just check in with ourselves and be honest, be authentic and honest. And that to me really is spirituality. It isn't it isn't about pretending to be anything. It's about being real. It's about being authentic. And what is the spiritual journey for me? It's about analysing one's own self and how your world around you, how you interact with the world around you, and how it reflects back to you. And if there's stuff in it that isn't that great, then it's an inner job. It's an inner thing. Like, what do I need to fix to change that outer world? And it's okay if we project onto it for a bit. It's going to happen to everybody, that we just project onto it, get angry with it for a bit, and then come back and do the inner work. It's not always an instantaneous thing. And I really think that we need to normalize this a lot more in the spiritual world, that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to do embarrassing things. It's okay to be triggered or to have an argument. These things are still spiritual, and they are still part of the spiritual journey and part of the spiritual path. And if we don't have them at all, and we're repressing all those feelings, then in my opinion, that's even worse, because we're just being completely inauthentic, and we're just in denial that there's stuff in there that we're just repressing, and we're not bringing out to the surface to be dealt with. And I'm not saying obviously go and shout at everybody or punch people or anything like that, but sometimes we need to see what's there. And if there's nothing triggering you, then you're just sort of walking around in denial, call it spiritual. It's called spiritual bypassing, because it's bypassing over the fact that there's stuff in you that needs to come up to the surface for integration. But yeah, I just wanted to share that story with you. It's quite funny. If it goes viral, then then I don't know, that's part of the life path. But it was a very British argument with no insults or swearing or off-topicness. It was all about the invisible bluebells on the muddy path. And I do love nature very much, so don't walk on bluebells. I wouldn't walk on bluebells either. And that lady can be happy now that the message is out there. And I hope everyone is good, and I'm gonna be getting back to doing more regular videos, and I'm gonna make that video that I was filming in Isabella Plantation soon, and I'll drop it on my travel channel. And I hope everyone is good. What does spirituality mean to you, actually? Like, I'd love you to drop that in the comments, because I think it does mean something different to all of us, actually. And that's something that I've come to realize, that it's quite a broad term as a word. We all interpret it in our own unique ways. But for me, it's the things that I mentioned in this video. And I hope everyone is good, and I'll speak soon.